Hi everybody, I want to do a short video on why we call people to the altar on Sunday mornings. First of all, I would go into the New Testament and show you where Jesus calls his followers publicly. He says, "Follow me," and then is asking for a public response, a response of their faith, a response to the good news of who Jesus is and what he's done. I would also point you to Matthew 10, verse 32, that says, if we acknowledge Jesus before men here on earth, then he will acknowledge us before the Father in heaven. So there is this thing of having the ability to respond to Jesus, to respond to the gospel, and in the Bible it's public. Romans chapter 10 talks about it's with your heart that you believe, but with your mouth you respond. So we think that a response to the gospel, a response to Jesus, is critical that we afford. Now, we ask people to come up front, and there's nothing special about the floor, the wood, the pillows, the Kleenexes. We just call this the altar because altars were a place of sacrifice. So oftentimes people want to respond to Jesus for the first time or maybe again with a sacrifice, a surrender. And so the altar, as we call it on Sunday mornings, is a place they can do that. But I would say an altar could be where you sit. You could hold your hands out. You could kneel where you sit. You could come on to the sides and pray with elders or prayer team. You could go in the back and worship. I think maybe I need to set up an altar every morning, like when my feet hit the ground coming out of bed. The Bible says I'm a living sacrifice, and I'm going to offer that sacrifice to Jesus every day. But certainly when we come together as a body, when we gather dynamically on Sunday and we are in the Word and we are gospel driven, when you teach the gospel, when you hold the gospel out, you have to respond. The Bible says, without response, it's like looking into a mirror and forgetting what you look like. So I think the Bible demands response. We're going to offer it as a public response. Now, here's what the altar call is not. It's not a thing of salvation. It's not, well, I went to the altar on January the 15th, and so that means I'm saved. The altar is a place of connection to Jesus. It's a place of sacrifice. Jesus and Jesus alone does the saving. I would say baptism is an altar. It's a place where I'm surrendering through the water, dying to myself, being buried, being raised again in new life with Jesus. The baptistry can be an altar for people. Communion is an altar where you go, I recognize that the ultimate sacrifice is Jesus, his blood, his body, and now I'm surrendering myself to you, Jesus, by ingesting your blood, by ingesting your body, and now letting you live through me by faith. And so I hope that helps with what the altar call is. It doesn't have to be Sunday mornings. It doesn't have to be up front on Sunday mornings, but it certainly can be. I love the communal aspect of it. Have you thought about this? Like when you see somebody, for me, when I see somebody in worship, sometimes that spurs my worship. When I see somebody surrendering and having the ability to come forward in front of people to surrender, man, that does something to my heart. Now, if you're saying, well, what if I'm not feeling that? Well, what if I've never felt like the need to go up front? Does that make me, is something off? Is something bad about me? I would say no. But I would also tell you that you should be open to what is God calling you to do? What is God asking you to do? What will your surrender look like? It can look like coming up front. It can look like sitting in your chair and holding your hands out. It can look like you go to the sides and you pray with somebody. It can look like every morning you put your feet on the floor and you surrender. So I hope that helps. If you've got questions, if you've confusion, man, we should talk. Drop me a line, ask a question in the comment section, and we can just keep this conversation. But I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to maybe be a little bit more practical, hoping that a little bit of an explanation might help in this concept of an altar call on Sunday mornings. Thanks a lot.